introduction. Thank you very much. I don't know if we can close that door back there. Is that what's up? And I'm a little flattered by the number of people that are in the room. Thank you very much for attending. Can everybody hear me in back? Yeah, we're doing good? All right. Indeed, my name is Don King. Unlike the boxing promoter, I took a career path in higher education, originally from California, a product of the state university system, and ultimately ended up at a small regional college in Nebraska called Chadron State College. I'm here to talk with you a little bit today about our journey, the journey that took us from not knowing a whole lot about open education to really having to kind of field a movement, a campus movement that has kind of led us to a number of successes. The purpose of my presentation is to kind of share with you those events and activities over the course of the last 3 years in hopes that it might, benefit you at your institution, or that you might glean some idea and take it back and make it work for you as well. So that's kind of where I'm headed. And that's my picture from the 2011 conference. That was my initial conference, Open Education Conference, and I got very, very motivated at that particular time. And that kind of started and led me to be somewhat of a provoker, if you will. I don't want to go so far as being a leader on our campus, but I definitely am interested. For those of you who are not aware, Nebraska is one of the flyover states, for those of you on one of the coasts. And very specifically, state of Nebraska, Chadron is located up in the upper left-hand corner, just below South Dakota. We are one of 3 state institutions at the collegiate level. We have a state college system. We also have a state university system, which most of you would know as Go Big Red. We are not a part of the Go Big Red network, although we do definitely support them. But Chadron State is a small regional open enrollment institution of approximately 3,000 students. We have a growing online program or programs, student body at the graduate as well as the undergraduate level. I'm sharing with you our project plan just to kind of give you a foundation. I will reference this again later on in the presentation, but in essence, where we have come from really kind of called for us to develop some sort of a plan so that we had a guide. At Chadron State, Open Education Project Plan is to invite faculty members, administrators, and students to work towards a culture of open education across campus. Ultimate goals of this project are to increase student learning opportunities via the use of open ed materials and to provide faculty development in the best practice for open resources. As I go through my talk here in the next 15 minutes, I'll talk about activities and events that kind of support this and have led us down this path. So that's why I share this with you ahead of time. And we have a mission as well: to promote adoption and use of open ed resources to enhance teaching and learning, reduce educational costs to students, increase access to higher education by moving OER content into the curriculum directly, and then to engage faculty in more of a unified effort, which really has indeed happened on our campus. And then lastly, to of course support the mission of the state college system. Again, those 3 campuses of Wayne State, Crew State, and Chadron State College. There's something else I was going to say and I just lost it, so I'll just move on. To give you a bit of a history, our initial steps, how this kind of evolved over the course of the last 3 years, are somewhat strategic, but also kind of somewhat happenstance. Many of the things that, in fact all of the things that I'm going to share with you, to be really honest, could not have happened without the support of our administration, both at the campus level as well as the state college system level. They really have embraced the whole notion of open ed as it pertains to a variety of things, but largely how to reduce costs to students, because of course we have been plagued with that, as have institutions across the nation. So we started out initially with what was called a Kaleidoscope project. Kaleidoscope is a Gates Hewlett Foundation funded project, and it was instituted 3 years ago. We were one of a few institutions that were accepted into that project, and it focused primarily on using technology to enhance student success in the areas of transitional studies. That was our focus. We did a lot in the area of reading and composition courses. These courses, of course, were designed to be open-based and using an open course framework. That in itself really was kind of the impetus and the first awareness, if you will, of open ed on the Chadron State campus. And it kind of got some attention. Faculty were like, oh, what is Kaleidoscope? And what are we doing? And how does that work? And who's paying for it? And so there were a lot of questions that were being asked, and it really kind of ignited a lot of curiosity. That was kind of part of the initial step. I keep going backwards because my mouse is scrolling the wrong way. Then kind of the next step followed in that the Kaleidoscope 2 years later was indeed renewed. We again were one of the institutions that were a part of this larger initiative. And kind of concurrently at that time, CSC faculty, staff, and administration started to really realize the benefits of open ed and started to get more interested in ways in which open ed could impact what we do on our campus. Aside from the Kaleidoscope, of which we had 4 fellows that were named. These were faculty on campus who worked in that initial Kaleidoscope effort, and they developed courses in an open course framework, and those were in the area of reading and composition, as well as a couple other courses. But they primarily were in support of students who were more of an at-risk. And the second phase of the project really allowed us to focus on expanding our efforts into other disciplines and other subject areas. Well, as that occurred with Kaleidoscope, again, this curiosity on campus came about where other faculty, including myself, who as an educator in the education department, we really didn't offer general education courses or essential studies courses as they are called on our campus. But we had an interest. Our special educators had an interest. Our elementary faculty had an interest. So we were starting to kind of bite the bullet and find out a little bit more about what's going on. And as a result, again, our administration was supportive and allowed us to kind of move forward in moving some of our selected courses into an open ed kind of a framework. Once again, the momentum was building, faculty started to ask more questions, it became more of a pronounced initiative on campus, although informal. And as a result, ultimately, the campus, the administration viewed it of significance to allot about $12,000 towards open ed initiatives on our campus. And that money went to a variety of places. It provided people with the opportunity to come to, for example, this conference. It provided opportunities to have speakers come to our campus and provide us with workshops and seminars as it pertains to supporting this open education movement. I'll get it down. One of the initiatives that kind of was spawned by this curiosity and this momentum as it built and grew was the campus open education learning community. Faculty and staff as well kind of realized that we needed to have an avenue or a forum, if you will, by which we can come together and talk and share and collaborate and get questions answered, because we had some faculty who had a lot of experience in seeking out and utilizing open ed resources. They understood licensure and copyright infringements and that sort of thing, whereas we had new faculty who were moving into this area who really didn't know a whole lot. So it was kind of the more experienced that were working with and helping the inexperienced, but reciprocally, the same thing is true. People who were coming in who were new, who had no preordained or predestined idea about what open ed in and of itself was all about, they were kind of striking down new paths and opening up new doors that those of us who have kind of been in that world for a while hadn't thought of. So it really became a unique forum for a very enriched atmosphere, I should say, for sharing. We meet once a month, and we have sometimes organized presentations. We have, and at other times it's just kind of an open forum where we talk and share a little bit about the things that are going on across our campus. And I will provide you later on again in one of the slides a list of all the initiatives that are actually going on at Chadron State College as a result of this growth and this momentum. The next bullet down here is our E-Scribe initiative. This was established in the fall of 2012. The E-Scribe initiative was copied, if you will, from Michigan, or the University of Michigan's D-Scribe program. I'm not sure, is anybody familiar with that? D-Scribe program? Great program. It was open. We literally copied it through the vision of one of our professors. She took this idea to our campus administration, and they agreed to cough up a certain amount of money to fund 4 students who would work with faculty. They would actually be trained, and then they would work with faculty on different parts of the campus to help them explore, identify open ed resources that they could then utilize within their classes. All right, and this has really grown. We're now doubling the size of the E-Scribe project. It's moved out of the education department. It is now going to, as of, what's today, Thursday? I think tomorrow, Friday, it will be moving into our Learning Commons, which is our former library building where we have expanded upon the uses of that facility, if you will, and the E-Scribes will go over there. We call them E-Scribes, by the way, because our mascot is the Eagles. We're Chadron State Eagles, so they're E-Scribes, and we just call them E-Scribes. So, really a neat venture that has worked out just beautifully for not only faculty, but for the students as well. They really enjoy what they do. We also felt at that particular time, again, all these things kind of commingling and surfacing and bubbling up at one time over the course of these 2 years, that maybe it was a good opportunity for us in Nebraska, because there wasn't any kind of a repository or an information site that spoke specifically about open education. There was no place in Nebraska where electronically, where faculty who developed, or students or staff or anybody who developed resources that were open, where they could kind of post them. It was and this is kind of evolving still. We're kind of taking it a step at a time, but we do have an Open Education Nebraska website. You can go there, and if I had more time, I would share it with you. But it talks about, it defines open ed, it talks about resources, it talks about licensure. It's just a good resource for people who to access other resources, as well as for people who just want to know a little bit more about what OER is all about. And that's kind of our Nebraska venture. Provides an explanation, serves as a repository, etc. All of these projects and initiatives really have been on the shoulders of faculty and staff because it's become kind of a passion. I showed the slide of myself here in 2011. I was, for all intents and purposes, I hope my colleagues in here don't get offended, but I was your typical college administrator. I was a department chair, I taught, I was entrenched in the routine reports and assessments and scheduling and all of those fun things that we get to do that help keep our institution rolling. And not to discount the importance of that, but when you're kind of lockstepped into that on a day-to-day basis, it was really refreshing for me to come to Open Ed 2011, and the rebel in me was kind of ignited, that child of the 60s and 70s kind of resurfaced, if you will. And I heard some of that kind of rebel calling through the keynotes that were presented at that particular time. So it spoke to me in a way that kind of lit my fire, if you will, and I kind of came back and I had a renewed passion. It gave me something else out of my 60-hour work week to focus on that was a little more pleasurable than filling out forms and reports. So, the faculty, by and large, I think felt the same way. It was really kind of one of these things that this movement was kind of shouldered by faculty and staff, and as a result, they were kind of doing it for a variety of reasons. One of the things that we have now seen in the way of support, and I would really, if you're at an institution, I would really advocate for this, is that faculty are getting credit for this on their professional activity record. That's what the PAR is. Every institution has something similar. Ours is called a PAR. And we can get credit for that in the area of teaching and service. And that's really a good thing. And that's a great motivator because you're kind of getting an intrinsic reward as opposed to just an external satisfaction. In addition, our faculty adopted a policy that said if any faculty member within our institution was interested in improving the quality of their online course, because much of what we have done in our small rural geographic region is our online programs have really grown. And they've grown because of access and because of our location. Well, quality matters. Anybody familiar with quality matters? Many of you, okay. It is, it's a mechanism that allows you to kind of take a more scrutinized look at your courses, and it helps you improve upon them. Obviously, if we're offering an open course, it's going to be in an online nature. This ties in quite nicely, and the director of our Teaching and Learning Center, Mary Jo Carnot, is trained in this, and she has come to our Open Ed forums. We've held workshops on campus. Many of our faculty, up to about a third of them, have completed the initial rubrics course, which has helped us improve the quality of what we're doing in an online fashion. But that has been free. We've not had to pay for that. That has been a great resource for teachers on our campus. They've also provided us with support workshops and trainings. We have gone, as many of you have, I'm sure, over the course of years, moved from one format, LMS format, to another. We started out with oh my goodness, E-College, then we went to, or Blackboard, then we went to E-College, then we went to Sakai. And now many of our faculty are kind of looking at and have become very engaged, if you will, in the Canvas platform. So as a result, we've had individuals who have come in and have provided faculty with training on these different platforms and to show us how they can work more effectively within that platform in a more open context. So that has been a nice support as well. And then in October of 2013, just last month, David Wiley came and presented a workshop and really worked with faculty who are in the initial and more of the moderate levels of course development and worked individually with them. He also made a larger presentation to campus. It was, again, a nice effort. It was something our institution supported, and it was a great resource to faculty in getting their courses developed. Did I do this one? Yes, I did. Okay, next steps. Phase 2 continued. Campus Open Education Learning Community. I did this one. I'm using the little roller here. Maybe I should just use my parse. I did that. Oh, here we go. So that was kind of from an institutional perspective. The Nebraska State College system in and of itself, again, the 3 colleges, have also recognized the value in this. And as a result, they, in February of 2013, they pulled all 3 campuses together, those individuals who were interested, and had a system open education summit meeting. It was held at Wayne State College. Faculty and staff from each of the 3 colleges could come. The topics that were presented were open education in the higher ed landscape. We talked about creating capacity for open ed, possibilities and challenges, of course, as it pertains to moving to an open ed format. And then a really intrinsic value was our opportunities to get together with other faculty within our system in our respective disciplines and talk about courses that we might work collaboratively on to make them more open. And ultimately, we are hopeful that we will be able to create an open pathway for certain degree areas. Many of you know that Tidewater Community College has had a 2-year pathway recently to an associate's degree. We're hopeful in moving forward with a similar venture on a 4-year degree plan. So that was a really nice effort, and we're looking forward to having a second summit or a second opportunity within our state to get it back together with those faculty as well. August 2012, we established the Teaching Learning Center. These are specific things that have occurred on our campus, from a physical presence to an employment shift, a reassignment of duties by staff and faculty that administration has taken upon itself to do in order to not only help and support open education, but clearly, as I go through this list and talk about it, you'll understand how significant that these changes have been. We established a Teaching Learning Center, which is now part of that Learning Commons in our former library building. We have hired a Director of Teaching and Learning, which we did not have before. That was not a position on our campus. This is the individual that has really helped us with the Quality Matters initiative. We have funds appropriated now for an instructional designer. We have been without an instructional designer on our campus for few 4-ish years, and that has now been funded and will be advertised. We're very excited about that. Our librarians have been retasked to work in certain OER functions. They're going to work with our E-Scribes. In fact, our E-Scribes are going to be partnered with a couple of our librarians, and they will work together to help faculty across disciplines in their courses. We have hired an Associate Vice President for Teaching and Learning Technologies. Again, a huge step and a large commitment by our institution to move forward with this leadership on a campus-wide level. We've increased our computer academic services. Computer services in the past drove academics at our institution. That's a conversation that I think many of us could have on a deeper level. But we're really seeing a shift in now this realignment, and academics is now kind of working more closely with computer services, and we're kind of driving them. They are now redefining themselves. They have worked on coming up with an academic computer plan, huge on our campus. That's a huge step for us. That of course would support academics and movement towards an open ed capacity as well. Institutional E-Scribe project I already spoke about. We encourage institutional collaboration. We just met this morning with Pittsburgh State and with Fort Hays State faculty to work on a collaborative effort. We have met with them over our Skyping system, if you will, our interactive TV system at Chadron State. So we've met with them, and we look forward to working in a more collaborative nature as well down the road outside of our system. Future wish list. Well, we hope that OER initiatives are tied to other avenues as it pertains to faculty tenure and promotion. Again, showing a commitment. OER degree program of pathway development. I mentioned that to you earlier. Academic computer services, extended collaboration with other institutions, i.e. Pittsburgh State, Fort Hays State. And the thing that I am really impressed with is some of these institutions, I believe it was Tacoma. Is Quill in here? Quill West? Oh, but you spoke of that as well. I was
Chris is here.
Yeah, Chris is here. Hi. I was really excited to hear that your student government, our student senate, if you will, coughed up some money as they see the value and support of this as well. That has not necessarily been the case, although our student government have attended these workshops and training, and they're starting to get on board. But to this point, money hasn't been allocated. And I know I'm done. Initiatives on campus, I'll be happy to provide this to you electronically if anybody is interested. My email is right back. That's a picture of my grandson. And we are from Nebraska. We are children of the corn. Yeah, go Big Red. But that's my email. Susan Hines also can respond, as well as Elizabeth Ledbetter, both of whom are in this room. So questions, I know I ran through that really quick. Thank you for your patience.